Tom with TK Designs here. This video was originally intended to be a butcher block, 16.5 inches by 25.5 inches, for a customer that wanted to add a little flair to their kitchen design. It turned into the biggest fail I've had to date. Watch along as I highlight the many failures I encountered during the build because I was new to this kind of project. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell icon if you like the content. So I started the project with 2 glue ups. I glued maple strips together, and then on the end of those I put ends of sapele. I glued them up in 2 separate batches in order to allow me to give the total length of the board whenever I did the end grain design. So in all, it was a little bit around 27 inches in length that the board is going to be prior to cutting. And I wanted to get it glued up so that I would have the pieces ready to go. So far, so good with the build. Next, I took the long boards and I was going to split these down into 2 parts so that it'll be easier to cut my end grain strips. Now, this was pushing the limits of my crosscut sled, as you can see. I was able to do and make a good cut here. And of course, in accordance with Murphy's Law, I got kind of hung up there and I had to go on and try again. Once I got the snag with the cut worked out, I was able to start cutting my strips for my end grain. After I get done with this, I'll run them through the planer, or not the planer, the sander, and get all of the glue and get everything leveled out. This is about one of the only parts of the entire process that actually went well in this build. Next issue I had was a combination of the glue up and the alignment. I did a horrible job of getting the pieces cut at the same length and width, and when I tried to line up all the sapele parts, I managed to get those offsetting on both sides of the board, and that left me kind of like with a digital pattern instead of a straight line separating the maple and the sapele. Later on, we'll see how that caused a lot more problems with the build. Did my v-carve inlays the same as I would normally do, and this time it actually seemed like things were going to go a little bit better in the process. So I got my glue up done and my inlay was in. Problem was my workpiece was too wide for my vise, so I tried just pushing it in and letting this weight keep the inlay in the pocket. As we see later, this did not work out well for me. Once the inlay was dried, I put it on the CNC and tried to clear it out like I normally do, and my first mistake was I set my Z height a little bit too low, and I started cutting into the surface of the top of the board. I hoped to cut above that and not touch the surface of the board at all, and then I would have run it through the sander to clean it up. So unfortunately, I made some mistakes along the way with working on this particular butcher block. Number one I started with is my inlay is too thin, as we can see here. I've got a void underneath, and so this is basically no good. This section of the inlay is thrashed. There's a couple of other spots that are just like this that are also kind of messed up, so they are what they are. In addition to that, we also have chip out in some various spots. Hard to tell, but right in here we have chip out, and over here on this E especially, we have chip out there, we have chip out here, and everything doesn't seem to be aligning quite right in the pocket. And I attribute that primarily to the fact that I wasn't able to put this in the vise. It was too big to fit because of the overall dimensions of the project. The other issue I've got is if we look at these borders, you'll see I made the mistake of putting the borders on the outside of the maple when I first started. So I've got some really jagged edges there. This is completely unsatisfactory. When I straightened out the board, as you'll see on this top spot here, it gets wider and wider and wider. So this build was pretty much straight garbage for me. Going to be back to the drawing board and make another cut, or make this project over. So welcome to the channel that not only shows you all the success, but will also show you the failures. Oh, one more failure here. Might not be able to see it real well, but right here we have some splitting in the glue up, as well as right here. So I couldn't in good conscience possibly pass this on to a customer. It's good enough for failure content, not good enough for an actual paying customer, so we'll remake the project. Well, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and if you really want to help me out, you can get me a cup of coffee by signing up for that monthly membership. Get into my coffee club here. All right, thanks again, everyone.